So I didn't expect golf to make me want to make my own video game, but here we are. This summer I tried golf for the very first time in my 22-year-old life, and let me tell you, I have never felt so unathletic before. I could barely hit the ball. But me and my girlfriend actually thought it was pretty fun, so we went to some local second-hand shops and picked up a few used clubs. We didn't realize until like 3 weeks later that we had actually bought 3 of the same type of clubs. One evening we had some friends over and we didn't really know what to do. But after all the time we had spent on the golf range, I suddenly thought, what if we dug out the old Wii console and played some Wii Golf? We did, and it was actually pretty fun. It was so much fun, in fact, that I started missing, some similar kind of game on PC to play. Something casual that you can play with your girlfriend or friends. There are plenty of mini golf games on PC, but not a lot of golf games, with big courses that aren't super realistic and complicated. So I thought, why not make my own? I have played around with Unity and Godot before, but I have never made a 3D game, so this is the perfect time to try it, I guess. But firstly, let's lay out a plan, because keeping it structured and simple, that's the only way that I will actually finish this thing. Alright, let's set up a clear goal. I want to have a playable version of the game, with one hole that you can actually play. It doesn't have to look visually perfect, but you should be able to play it within 1 month. If I make that, I hope that it will spark some motivation for me to keep going, and if I don't make it, well, then I'll know that I have to rethink my plan. I'll be working during evenings and weekends since school takes up my weekdays, so whenever I'm not hanging out with my girlfriend or our cat or rewatching How I Met Your Mother for the 4th time, I'll be working on this game. And this is how it went. I started by booting up Godot and just created a ball that falls straight down. Not too exciting, right? So I jumped into Blender and made a quick ground terrain, just something with bumps and hills to test how the ball rolls around. The collision worked great, actually. Well, mostly. Next, I added a shooting mechanic to let me launch the ball around the world. That made it a lot easier to test physics and how the ball behaves. How bouncy should the ball be, how much should it slow down while flying through the air, how much should it slow down while rolling on the ground. The hardest part was actually getting the ball to stop properly. It kept slowly creeping forever, which looked really weird, but eventually I got it feeling pretty good. I made sure to keep track of all the different values I was tweaking, since later I will want the ball to behave differently depending on whether it's on the fairway, in a bunker or on the green and so on. Alright, next step. I needed some visual indicator to show how hard you're charging your golf shot. And I also needed some way to show where you're aiming the ball. So I made a ball trajectory, a trajectory line that shows exactly where the ball will go. I'm really happy with this feature. It gives the player guidance and makes the game feel more polished. The only problem, it is too helpful. I can always see exactly where the ball is going to land, which is way too easy for a game. Before fixing that, I started adding more features to the course, areas like bunkers, rough and green. So for example, in the bunker, the ball should basically just stop. So I added a ton of rolling resistance when the ball is in the bunker. Now the problem is that you can't shoot the ball out of the bunker. I also made it so that when you're on the green, your shots go straight. You don't shoot it up in the air, it just rolls straight. Alright, the last step was making it actually feel like a game, meaning it needed challenge. I wanted both mechanical difficulty and some problem solving through the course design. The course layout part will come later, but for now I was just wondering, how do I make this mechanical difficulty? In real golf, or even Wii Golf, you need to keep your swing straight and control your timing. There are tons of variables there. But how would I bring that to PC without making it, just random and frustrating? So I came up with this. Add a small random movement to the ball trajectory. That way you have to time your shot and release it at the right moment. And also, the harder you charge, the more it wobbles, meaning you can choose between shooting short and straight or going for power but risking hitting a car window. Alright, time's up. Let's see what I got. You start on this simple hole. You can see the flag in the distance. You can aim and charge your shot. You'll notice that the shot gets more unstable the harder you charge. If you land in the rough, shots get even more unpredictable. Both power and spin will wobble, and you see fewer dots on the trajectory, making it harder to aim. It really makes you want to stay on the fairway. When you get on the green, you can putt the ball into the hole, but it rolls very easily, so it might go just past the hole. I'm thinking putting difficulty will come from slopes on the green later on. I also added wind with a little indicator in the corner. You can even add spin by dragging the mouse sideways to compensate for the wind. So, did I succeed? I'd say I'm pretty close. The visuals aren't great yet, and the HUD needs a lot of work, but the core mechanics feel solid. Now I just need to playtest a lot and to fine-tune the physics and difficulty. If you want to see more about this project, please stick around and I'll see you later. Bye bye.